Hi everyone, Ryan Ratliff here from Mad River Outfitters, and thank you for joining us for this week's fly tying tips, where we teach you everything you need to know about tying your own flies. Welcome back to Fly Tying Tips. My name is Ryan Ratliff. Make sure you join us every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time where a new video comes out. This week I'm going to talk about a question that I get in the shop a lot is, what type of eyes do I need to put on my fly? And so eyes, that's a huge category, but right now today we're going to talk about weighted eyes. When to use lead dumbbell eyes, when to use bead chain eyes, when to use even a mono eye on the fly, and how do you sort through all that? Putting the right eye on the fly so it does what you want it to in the water. So in the vise right here, we have the infamous half and half. This is in Fire Tiger color, one of my favorites. This has the weighted dumbbell eyes on it. This fly is what we would consider a jiggy motion in the water. So it's going to fall nose down, and then when you strip it, it's going to come up. Typically, we would use this on a floating line or a slow sinking line. We want this fly to sink faster than the fly line that we would be using. So it's going to go down. It's also, this is how you would tie the fly. You would tie it with the hook point down, but when it hits the water, those eyes, being that they're on that side, are going to flip this fly like this. So it's going to ride hook point up. That's going to do a couple things for you. That's going to help maybe not snag on wood cover, maybe not get hung up in weeds as bad, maybe not get hung up in rocks, but weighted eyes are going to get in the rocks sometimes. So, but this fly with that size eye is going to help keel it and drop it over like that. This eye is the small size, so even though this is a pretty big fly or pretty big hook, the small is pretty good size eye. So just because you're tying on a 1/0 or 3/0 hook doesn't mean you want to go to the biggest eye possible, the 1/4 inch super heavy eyes. This is a small size eye here. You could put a medium on there also. So picking out the right size for the hook, that's kind of relative to the pattern. So instead of explaining that here, that's best explained over the phone so we can understand what pattern you're tying, what model of hook that you're using, all those different things that I just can't cover in one video. There's too many factors. So if you are still stuck on what size eye do I need, I want a dumbbell eye, a lead dumbbell eye, so it's going to help turn the fly over, but what size do I need? Give us a call and we'll help sort that out. All right, so that is the half and half. Half clouser, half deceiver. That's why it's called a half and half. So that's a half and half. One of Pat Ayler's designs, kind of mirrored off of some flies or some lures in the bass, conventional bass world. This is like a shaky worm. This is the super worm. So rabbit strip tail, foam in there so it floats up. Offset worm hook, which is pretty cool in my opinion. And it has the dumbbell eyes in the front, right in the notch of that offset worm hook. Again, this is designed when it hits the water to flip over, and then the tail will float up. So if you do any conventional fishing, watch Bassmaster Classic, watch the Linder guys, any of those bass fishing, conventional fishing shows, then the shaky worm has been something that's been around for a long time. This is one of my favorite cold front bass flies. So eyes are placed at the front up here. It's going to nose dive down. Again, this is going to kind of fall in that jiggy motion also, fall down. Then this foam is going to float that tail up. And then when you strip it, it's going to really kind of leechy, kind of just minnow, maybe something feeding on the bottom. Who knows? Bass just love this type of stuff. So this is the super worm with those eyes in the front. Now dropping into the carp world. So we use a lot of dumbbell eyes, lead dumbbell eyes, bead chain eyes in the carp world. This is the Great Carpolio, I think is what it's called. This is on a jig hook. You can see those plated, those are called the lead plated eyes or silver. It's on that 30 degree or 60 degree jig hook, and when this hits the water again, turn it right over, so right hook point up. This is designed as a carp fly. This is a fantastic skinny water smallmouth fly too. Very sparse, something that I would be using late summer around here. Also, it works great for carp. It works great for in different colors, maybe for crappies, all kinds of different things. But again, those dumbbell eyes are designed when it hits the water, it's going to keel it over, turn it over, so it rides hook point up. Those eyes are actually tied on this part of the shank, not tucked up in right in here. They're tied up on here, which would be the top if it's oriented like this. All right, so you have a wide range of different sizes. Here is large, here is small. You also have these cool double pupils. You have the plated one like on the Carpolio. You have the raw lead, which is just gray and still works just fine. They all work the same. It's just kind of what you want. Do you want a little bit of color for the eye? Or do you want, maybe it looks better just for you. Maybe the fish don't care, but it looks better for us. Or you can even get like this kind of interesting 3D type pupil. These eyes are 1/4 inch. They don't have a small, medium, or large, but these would be considered like an extra large. Very, very heavy. Not fun to cast, not fun to get hit with. This is gonna break a rod. So rod companies would tell me to say, make sure you tie lots of flies with these. No. These are rough. You only use these if you want to seriously get the fly down and you are a serious expert caster. Let's go into the use of the bead chain eyes. So this is like what you would have on a lamp, the lamp pull cord. These are going to be, these aren't the same quality. These are a lot higher quality, a lot denser, they're not going to split open and stuff like that. So these are bead chain. Here is a cool color that is a matte finish. We use a lot of these in our carp flies. They don't have any shine to them. Very useful for that. Bead chain eyes. So the most iconic bead chain eye fly that I thought of, at least that first came to mind, was the good old gotcha. So this is the number 2 gotcha. And those eyes with the shank and how the wing is set, this fly is designed to tip over like this, but it's not going to land as loud. Not going to plop into the water. It's going to cushion a little bit. It's not as heavy. Just enough weight just to kind of help get the fly to turn over, but it's not going to sink it super fast. We'll add some weight there, but it's not going to sink it super fast like a lead eye. So that's the main reason for using a bead chain eye, is when you want the fly to land quieter, but also there's not very much going on this fly. This is pretty streamlined, this fly. I can make it pretty small, so it's easily keeled over with just those eyes. Where something with a bigger wing, with all this stuff going on here, you need to have those bigger lead eyes to get that to turn over and ride hook point up. That was the gotcha. This is a very awesome fly called the Flash Monkey from our good friend Russ Madden. This is tied on a shank. It's got a little loop. It's got that awesome hook in the back there. Great story on how this fly came about. But this actually has bead chain eyes. But being that the head is so large in diameter, it's not just 2 round pieces of bead chain, it's actually 4. So it's 2 on either side to make it a little bit wider. Another fly that does the same type of thing is Sanyo's AI Intruder, the artificial intelligence. It uses 4 bead chain, 2 on either side, tied right in the middle, to kind of give it a bigger platform. We do that also with some carp flies, if we're afraid it's going to tip over, we'll go those 4 bead chain. But this is the Flash Monkey. It's a streamer, not designed to give a ton of weight, just to give a little bit of eye, but just to kind of help start the nose to sink down a little bit. It's not going to totally counteract the hook, so it's not going to really drop like a clouser, but it's just enough to kind of help cut it through the water. So this is going to be a carp fly. This is the headstand, cool little, just a little tiny guy. Comes in a couple different colors. This is the chartreuse. I love this fly for crappies, big bull bluegills, sight fishing for small, largemouth and ponds. This is a great fly because it's very small, lands very, very nice, but it's just got enough in the bead chain just to turn this over. Just like that. This headstand, this is Lance Egan's fly. He does some pretty cool stuff. Thinks way out of the box, different than we do around here. It comes from that competition trout mindset, and he fishes for tons of stuff, carp and all kinds of cool stuff. So this is a cool fly. We have it in like a more natural color too. Both great, but just that bead chain is just enough just to kind of get it to go right over, but not land in the water super hard. That's the key for a carp fly. You don't want that plop to happen. When you're looking at something like the Carpolio here with the heavier eyes, this is for deeper water, maybe for carp that are feeding on a lot of crayfish. Maybe they're feeding on gobies or other types of minnows in the Great Lakes. This fly is going to get down. So way different. So don't always think that every carp fly is going to have bead chain. You might want some things that are heavier, but that's Lance Egan's headstand in the chartreuse color. The last set of eyes that we're going to talk about are these mono eyes. These are kind of in a little bit different category. They kind of cross over between like putting a stick-on eye or using a weighted eye. They don't really add any weight to it. They just add some visualness to it. You can put these on hex nymphs. We use these a lot for the Michigan fisheries, for steelhead, for trout, where the nymphs have big beady eyes on them. If you want like carp fly where you want the weight kind of in the back of it, but you want something up in the front, or maybe you want some eyes in the back like a crayfish, then you can use this type of an eye. But it really adds no weight. It's just cosmetic, or just to represent the darkness of an actual eye. So it doesn't really necessarily fit in the weighted eye category, but since it looks the same, it's like a dumbbell, a lot of people think that they would add some weight. They really don't do much in that. So just to kind of clarify that. So basic rundown, again, real simple rundown on your weighted eyes. If you want to know like what ones do I pick for my flies that I'm going to tie, all that type of stuff, again, give us a call because we can kind of set up the pattern. We understand the pattern that you're going to tie. We understand the hook that you're going to go with and the materials you're going to use. Once you explain those to us, then we'll tell you what size eye, if it's going to be bead chain, what size bead chain, lead eye, what size lead eye, that type of thing. So give us a call at the shop. Again, we really appreciate you watching these videos. Hit the like button, leave a comment for us, and give me a call if you have any questions.